Hey, it's good to hear that music again on this Wednesday afternoon. That means it's time for Helping Seniors of Brevard. Let's get things underway as I introduce the host of the show and the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard. Here's Kerry Fink. Hi, Kerry.
Hey, John Harper, thanks so much. It's always good to be here on the radio every Wednesday, lunchtime, noon to 1, right here on 90.3 WEJF FM. And if you're listening online, WEJF.net, we appreciate you. And if you found this as a podcast on the growing, as a growing number of people do, thank you for joining us. Every place good podcasts are found, from iTunes to Spotify to iHeartRadio to Amazon Music. Just look for Helping Seniors Radio. And actually now Helping Seniors TV is also available in podcast form as well. So always be looking for good content that will help you as you develop your aging plan, or as we like to say, getting your ducks in a row. And we have a great program for you today. We're going to talk about something that actually kind of became Dr. Lee Sheldon's kind of like subtitle to the slogan that he's a noted area periodontist. And for years, the practice is officially known as Dr. Sheldon and Furtado because of the excellent periodontist, Dr. Michelle Furtado also being one of them, and general dentistry and everything that they do together. So it's Dr. Sheldon Furtado. But for years, they've used a name called Solid Bite. And we're going to talk a lot about a solid bite on today. Hey, Dr. Sheldon, how are you?
Good morning, Kerry. Good. How are you?
I am very, very well. Before we jump into today's topic, I want to remind you of a fun thing. This is one of the reasons why you want to get your bite right, so you can enjoy eating. And I just want to share that tomorrow at the Senior Resource Center, which is where our little Helping Seniors headquarters are, 1344 South Apollo Boulevard. This is the Omni Healthcare building. Sometimes people refer to it as that because it's got a great big sign on the top of the building. But they've been kind enough to afford us a good space on the second floor, and we do everything we can to maximize service to seniors, and all kinds of good things happen there. Everything from it being the home of the Helping Seniors info line. I'm going to give you that number because you're going to need that number to RSVP for what I'm going to tell you about. So that number is 321-473-7770. I'll say it again in just a moment so you can grab a pencil and jot it down. But it's the home for that. It's the home for our podcast studio. It's also home for a lot of resources. Nancy Deerdorf and the entire team there are always looking for ways to make sure that we're getting information in the hands of seniors. And also we do a lot of fun stuff too. And tomorrow is one of those from 11 to 12:30. It's called Nourish Your Spirit Cooking Class. And it's a great deal of fun. It's presented by Ellen Jones with Senior Helpers of Melbourne in cooperation with, we like to call her the celebrity chef, Chef Jillian Zibreeze of Chefs for Seniors. And what this does, Dr. Sheldon, you're familiar with this because you're very big on eating correctly and doing things good nutritionally. And, you know, every time you go to the doctor says, you know, you're supposed to improve your diet. You're supposed to not eat that. You're supposed to eat this. And most of us, it goes in one ear and out the other, and we should pay attention. And what I love about what Chef Jillian does in this class tomorrow, it's free, 11 to 12:30. You do have to RSVP because I got to figure out how many people are coming. It's called Nourish Your Spirit Cooking Class. And what she does is she shares very simple, easy and healthy doctor-approved recipes. And then the cool part is after she makes them and shows you how to make them right in front of you, we all get to taste it. It's a neat thing, Dr. Sheldon.
Yeah, she's a great cook, too. I'm a great chef. I shouldn't say cook. You do not tell her. Oh, my God, what a downgrade. That's like Lee Sheldon is a great dental assistant. Well, actually, maybe it's not a downgrade. Maybe it is an upgrade because I've got outstanding dental assistants. Hopefully, they're not listening to what I just said just now. But anyway, let's go back to food. So the food is great. Chef Jillian knows what the heck she's doing. So, yes, take advantage of her food, take advantage of her recipes. Maybe she'll share a few of them with you.
Yes, it's a fun morning out. So again, we do need you to RSVP because, you know, if we don't know to set a plate for lunch, then we don't know to set a plate for lunch and you might miss out. But it's tomorrow. Again, we're talking about the 12th of February. So it's 11 to 12:30 at the Senior Resource Center. Just give a call to 321-473-7770. and join the growing number of people who do this. This is like a regular ongoing thing. It's a lot of fun, Dr. Sheldon. But let's get back into what we wanted to talk about today, which is, it's interesting because when I read the notes for the show that we want to talk about today, I kept coming back to something that you've kind of subtitled or tagged your business as for years. You called it Solid Bite. And that's why the subject of today's show is going to be why your bite may matter more than even cavities or gum disease.
Yeah, no, Solid Bite. I don't exactly remember where that came from. It was somebody's bright idea at some time. I think it may have been at that time. I remember part of it. There was an organization that I was going to sign on to who would be doing marketing and all that kind of stuff for our practice. And I met with the dentist that I liked working with the most. This is when I was in solo practice. I said, I'm going to sign on with these guys. And they came back and said, you know everything about the marketing. What the heck are you paying them for? We'll just do it together. And then so we started brainstorming and everybody was smile this, smile that. And so I decided to go with Bite because nobody was talking about Bite. So we came up with Solid Bite and here we are today. And you're right. Kerry, we've never talked really, we've referred to it, but we've never really concentrated a show on Bite. And I've got to tell you, I wrote this article, and you're going to see this article in Senior Scene magazine next month. And it's called Why Your Bite May Matter More Than Cavities or Gum Disease. Now, that's just to get your attention. It doesn't matter more, but it certainly matters somewhat as much. And our problem is that we don't pay enough attention to our bite. We do spend a lot of time talking about cavities, spend a lot of time talking about gum disease, but we don't talk about bite. And I got to tell you something else. I published this same essay professionally, and it turned a few dentists on. They said, thank you for talking about this because it's something we don't concentrate on enough. So, it gave me some, it gave me a little bit more national recognition. What can I say? It's good.
Well, I was thinking as we were jumping into the topic, we've done over the years. First of all, Dr. Lee Sheldon, we kind of jokingly call him the father of dental implants because literally going back into like 1980, he was like really spearheading and innovating all these things. And we've done over the course of 15 years of helping seniors, been a lot of TV programs, a lot of radio shows, and we've talked about such a variety of topics. I remember did one with your a TV show with your son, Dr. Matt Sheldon, who at one point was listed as one of the top 40 dentists under 40 in the entire United States of America. And the program was called Cosmetic Dentistry. And we were talking about very cost-effective ways to improve your smile and things like that. You and I have done TV programs along the way about a perfect smile, and you guys are known for being able to do a lot of things that really improve appearance. But the thing that's always been the undercurrent of everything we've ever talked about is that you're always concerned about getting the best mouth health. And there was a story you told in this article that's coming out in the March edition of Senior Scene. And you were talking about a patient who thought that her front, I think it was her front tooth needed to be extracted. And as you looked at it, you realized, no, if we do that, what it really is, it's a bite problem that if we could solve that, would solve other things.
Yeah, you're right. And as a matter of fact, I did publish that article. It just came out nationally, and it was promoted by one of the by Oral DNA, which is the company that we use to culture bacteria in the mouth or to identify bacteria in the mouth based on the bacteria. And so I wrote the entire thing up. They did a beautiful job at writing it up. And if you want a copy of that, how do we do that? Because if you want that, I'm happy to get that out to any listener who's listening to this right now. Kerry, any suggestions? Should I just say Dr. Lee at solidbite.com, or you got a better way of doing it?
I think all of the above. I always tell people that's a great reason to have our number handy, 321-473-7770, because if you call us and say, whatever it is, I saw it on TV, I heard it on the radio, I saw it in one of the magazines, but I couldn't remember where, and I need the number because I was interested in what they're talking about. If you call Nancy or one of our volunteers, they'll get you connected on that. But the other thing thing, Dr. Sheldon, is they could call your office directly, because I know you guys are very efficient, and you also have the Solid Bite Gives Back, which we'll talk about later in the show. But what is the number directly if somebody wants to just call your office directly?
It's area code 321-259-8000. And if you want to come in for the examination, it's $50 to Helping Seniors of Brevard. You get the x-rays and the CT scan, full examination, a 2-hour experience, all for the $50 or more.
Yes.
There are people who say, hey, for what I'm getting here, I ought to pay a lot more. And so they write a check for $200, $300 to Helping Seniors of Brevard. We'll take it, and it'll go directly to Helping Seniors of Brevard, and you'll get the examination, x-rays, everything that we do at no charge. So it's a good deal. It's a good deal for you, and it gives you an opportunity for, just check our Google reviews. You'll hear thoroughness, no pressure. Those are the types of things we get in our reviews, because we go over things in as much detail as we know how to do in order to be able to give you a feeling as to what's going on right now and what could go on in the future, so you can make the best decision for yourself.
Yeah, no, it's a great blessing to us as a charity, because you guys really help keep our charity going through that program, the Solid Bite Gives Back program. And for that matter, as we've done many shows, and I don't want to get off topic here, you've explained it probably cost your office somewhere around $700, $750 to actually do that, because you really get that in depth. So it gives you the tools you need to be able to make the best a treatment plan for somebody coming in. It also gives the patient really access to all the information they need to know and understand. But then at the end of the day, it's a great, powerful tool that helps charities like us keep our work going. So thank you for doing that. And
yeah, exactly right. Yes. And, and you have the advantage for us, and I don't need to sell this because we have a lot of new patients coming in, but, you have the advantage also of 4 of us getting together to talk about your case. And that's what we do on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Every Tuesday at 4 p.m. 4 doctors are sitting down talking about you.
And your mouth.
And your mouth. Yeah, my goodness.
That's it. So, but so let's go back to the topic, because we really do want to get into this whole conversation about bite, because most of the time when we think about a trip to the dentist or something like that, we're thinking about, oh, they're going to yell at me because I've got a cavity, or maybe I got to brush better because I have gum disease. And we don't often, like you said, I don't know that we've ever actually talked about bite itself. Why is it so important?
Well, Kerry, I am in correction mode this morning, so let's go to a correction on that question first. Don't you think it would be, if I feel that there is an error in the way that you asked the question, do you not think I should let you know that I feel there was an error in the way you asked the question?
Good, go for it.
You said yell at you.
Well, when we're sitting in the chair, that's how it sometimes comes across. Or maybe, Dr. Sheldon, that's why we're afraid to go to the dentist. Now, that's not the case in your office, but I remember as a child being lectured.
Oh, I am so sorry. We are trying to do everything to correct the ills of our profession. The number of people who come in and say, I'm afraid of the dentist because of what happened when I was a kid. And the first thing I say is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't me. I know.
Yeah. All right. There was a question attached to that, but I was just so stuck on yell at you that I forgot what the question was.
Well, the question was actually like, usually we were concerned about, do we have a cavity or do we have a problem that's going, maybe bleeding gums or things that might be a sign of gum disease or things like that we notice. But I don't know that we think about bite, and you're saying it's really just as important to talk about.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when you close your mouth, there is something called a shock absorber. We call them teeth. And when you're closing your mouth, the teeth are supposed to meet evenly. And if they do, that's great. But if some teeth are meeting and some teeth aren't, then those teeth that are meeting are taking more stress than they were designed to take. Understand that up to 70% of us grind our teeth. And if you're biting down on only a few teeth rather than the 14 teeth that should be touching, or at least the 10 teeth that should be touching, then we're in a little bit of overstressing each of those individual teeth that are touching. And so you then, because the bite is so strong on those teeth may not be able to to stand the pressure, particularly if they have periodontal disease, or if they've had big restorations done, or they have root canals and stuff like that. So we've got to be able to even out the bite. At least all of the back teeth and the canines should be meeting when we close down. And that's why we're talking about this today, because in the article, we'll talk about a patient who came in and she was only biting on 3 teeth, and one of those teeth was loose. And the natural response by somebody said, well, you need to have that tooth extracted. But actually what she needed to do is have her bite evened out, so she wasn't putting so much stress on that one of those 3 teeth. And when you do that, then you don't have to extract the teeth. As a matter of fact, you shouldn't extract the teeth. What you want to do is get all the stresses even. And so that's why we're talking about this today.
You know, as you were explaining that, I was thinking about an analogy I read one time, or it's actually a question. It was like a little trivia question, and it said, you know, if 2 people are standing out on a summer's day and they're standing on an asphalt parking lot, and you know, one's a 300-pound guy, and he's got on his business shoes, and the other is a 100-pound lady, and she's got on spiked high heels. Which is more likely to make an indention in the pavement? And of course, the answer is it's the lady in the spiked heels, because everything is being concentrated on that one pressure point. And I was thinking, as you were describing that has to be somehow similar in thinking, because if you're putting all the pressure on one tooth where it was meant to be spread out on several, that's bound to cause all kinds of problems.
You know, I think that's the best analogy I've ever heard. I'm going to steal that one from you.
Go for
it. That is great. It's absolutely true. Yeah, I mean, imagine walking around with only 3 toes rather than 10 toes.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got so many analogies here where imagine building a house where you didn't have enough supports. What would happen to the house? Just
Right.
Look at anything where we're depending upon stability, and we've introduced a lack of stability into the system. When you do that, the system is more likely to fail.
Yeah. Well, we wrote down a couple of questions, and I'm thinking we probably just answered this one. It says, can bite problems cause loose teeth even if her gums are healthy? And I think the answer would have to be yes, right? Because if you're putting that extra pressure that's not meant to carry that kind of load, it'd be like overloading your car, and you see that car like the springs can't handle it.
Oh, exactly right. And on that case that if you want to see it, the one that we've published nationally about the patient who came in biting on only 1 tooth and it was loose, she also had periodontal disease. And the fact is that we took care of the periodontal disease and we evened out the bite, so that tooth was no longer in stress, and the patient grew her bone back. Yeah, I mean, that's the extreme what we're talking about here. It was disease plus a tooth that hurt when she bit down. And of course, the first thing was, well, let's take out the tooth. And the answer was, no, let's not take out the tooth. Let's even out the bite on that tooth, and let's treat the disease, and the bone grows back. That's the ultimate example of what happens with too much stress on a tooth. And so you can look at this in a number of different ways. Let's assume that you've had a root canal done on a tooth. All right. If you need a root canal, you already know the tooth is weakened simply because there was so much damage to the tooth that it needed a root canal. Now let's assume you're biting only on that tooth. That tooth is more likely to break. So we've got these, if you look at a machine and all the gears are supposed to come together, here's another analogy, and the gears are not coming together, or there's a few teeth missing in that gear, well, what's going to happen to the rest of the gear? What's going to happen to the rest of the machine? Those of you who know how to do engine work, which I don't know how to do, but the analogy, so many analogies here, Kerry. I think let's just talk about, hey, forget bite. Let's talk about all the analogies to bite we can introduce today. And if we keep on talking long enough, I'll have a whole different way of approaching my patients when I see them later on today.
Well, it's all good. But, the point is actually pretty serious because, like I said, we start sort of with the premise that I can't really recall ever growing up or all through life going and a dentist going like, we need to check your bite because usually the conversation is cavities or, are your gums okay? But what we're describing and talking about today really seems like it could be pretty critical, because I know also, Dr. Sheldon, we've talked about, like, a lot of times people will come in with a jaw pain and things like that. And you say sometimes they're thinking it's a different kind of pain, but it actually ends up being mouth pain because things are misaligned. Is that part of all this too?
That's correct. And by the way, there are a number of misalignments that can occur, including the cervical vertebrae can be misaligned, causing a jaw problem. So it isn't just the teeth, but
Right.
the teeth are the ultimate things that are suffering from whatever else is off.
Right.
By the way, sometimes the correction to a bite problem, and you and I have talked about this in the past, is to correct the spine chiropractically or by physical therapy, and all of a sudden the bite changes. It's amazing what occurs when a patient is in our office and the patient says, my bite is off, and I apply some cervical traction, just pulling the head back just a little bit, just placing a little bit of distraction, pulling it up a little bit. And now the bite comes together and the patient looks at me like, I didn't know I was going to a chirodontist, but that's essentially what occurs. But yes, the ultimate thing that that suffers when we're in misalignment is the teeth are not meeting correctly, and when they do, they can become loose or they can break. Now, what you do about it is a different story, but the first thing is we want to get even pressure on all of our teeth. And the difficulty we have is, particularly now, for whatever reason, we've got more people grinding and clenching their teeth than ever before. If your teeth come together all the time and they're not supposed to, boy, you're putting even more stress on your teeth. Your teeth are only supposed to come together when you're chewing, which may be 5 or 7 minutes out of the day. But instead, when we're grinding and clenching our teeth, boy, that can happen for hours during the day, and you don't notice it. So, these poor teeth are made to withstand stress, and we've just got to do everything we can to make sure the stress is evened out on those teeth so that we keep them and maybe avoid seeing us for all this complicated dental work that we do. How about that?
Yeah, it sounds like a plan. Well, we're getting close in the range of our mid-show break, and I want to spend, in the second part of the show, really want to talk about some of the solutions. But before we get to the mid-show break, I wanted to ask this question because, I guess in the course of the discussion, a lot of times if we come in, we don't really understand that the bite could be contributing to this. And so is it something we as the patient should be trying to figure out, or is it something that you as the dental professional should help us identify as we come into the office, I guess is my question.
I'm going to be a radio guy after the break. We're going to discuss
I love it.
the very test that you can do to check your bite at home. And when we do that, we'll do that after Kerry goes to the break and says, we'll be back with more on Helping Seniors of Brevard right after this.
Wow. Well, that was really good. That's what they would call in Hollywood, like the cliffhanger, sort of like Who Shot JR or whatever. So, it's all good. And speaking of that, we will be back for the second half of the Helping Seniors radio show with Dr. Lee Sheldon, a noted area periodontist with Solid Bite. Dr. Sheldon Furtado, stick with us.
And you're listening to 90.3 FM WEJF. I'm John Harper, and what you're listening to is Helping Seniors of Brevard. Let me reintroduce the host of the show and the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard. Here's none other than Kerry Fink. Hi, Kerry.
Hey, John Harper, thanks. Always good to be here on the radio every Wednesday during the lunchtime hour. And we really appreciate you. If you're listening over the air, this signal covers the entire Space Coast. And we get calls from folks actually down in Indian River and over in Orlando, too. So 30,000 watts on WEJF FM, and then literally worldwide, because you can tune in anywhere on the net at WEJF.net. And for those folks that catch us as a podcast, we appreciate you, because we get the reports of folks who will hear a topic like today's program and go, hey, Fred, this is perfect for you. You should hear this. And they can just forward a link. So it's good all the way around. That's part of the Helping Seniors mission, is getting information into the hands of seniors and their families that are going to make a difference and an impact, a positive impact, as we follow our own aging plans. As we often like to say, getting your ducks in a row. So we have one of our favorite getting your ducks in a row people who is really an expert, noted area periodontist, Dr. Lee Sheldon. He is not only we jokingly call him the grandfather of dental implants, but Solid Bite Dental Practice, Dr. Sheldon Furtado, has been a mainstay here on the Space Coast, literally going back into like 1980 or something. And Dr. Sheldon, then you are always being called out to give lectures and things. You actually are kind of like a sought after speaker where other dental professionals are wanting to learn from the things that you share as well. So welcome back to the show.
So much fun that at this age they still want me to speak. I mean, they must be short of speakers. That's got to be it. But yeah, it's funny that the western side of the country is where I'm speaking the most. I've got a couple of online things. I did. I've got an online thing going on in Idaho. Then I'm going to be flying out to Oregon. This summer, I'll be speaking at the largest dental hygienist meeting, which will be outside of Washington, D.C. So it's exciting that people want to talk about this. And I've got to tell you, Kerry, and this is gratifying. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, or a little bit to do, but not much, is that root cleanliness is where things are right now. And there are major people talking about this in different parts of the country, the things that we're talking about using the periodontal endoscope, and that's starting to catch on. We've been doing it for 25 years. I guess you have to do it long enough that it keeps on catching on. There were only a few of us, a few hundred of us that are doing it. And of course, there are only a few people who speak before audiences, but it's starting to catch on. And it's so exciting. That's what I'm being asked to speak about. And by getting the roots clean, the way we've been doing it here for 25 years, boy, that minimizes all the other periodontal treatments that you need, because once the root is clean, the body knows how to heal all by itself. And so it's exciting that they are asking me to speak about this. So I'll give it to them for as long as I can give it to them, and and hopefully we'll be able to get what we've been doing at Solid Bite for 25 years, make that mainstream across the country.
Yeah, it's really neat. I almost wonder as we're talking about it, and you and Dr. Chris Naglieri recently were speakers at one of our Helping Seniors Wellness Series events. That's that fourth Thursday event we do every month. Every month on the fourth Thursday, we do a Knowledge College at 10 a.m. and then we do a Wellness Series at 11 a.m. By the way, the next one coming up, if you want to make a note of this, is going to be Thursday, February 26th. So it's basically like 2 weeks from tomorrow. And we have a couple of really neat speakers. On the Knowledge College part, Dr. Sheldon, we have Lizzie Johnson, who's an attorney with Community Legal Fund of Mid-Florida. She is an expert she actually heads up their older adult programs, and is going to be talking to us a little bit about home title security. You hear all about that fraud stuff, and this is something that she's really set up. She's on the front lines and is going to talk to us about that. And then at 11, Jennifer Allen, from Vitas Healthcare is going to be there talking about Heart Health Month, since February is that. But back to the point that we were trying to get to is you and Dr. Chris Naglieri were talking about, gave a great presentation on helping us understand all these components of mouth health. And I was going to say, so oftentimes, maybe endodontics and that whole root stuff has to do with maybe where that's expression came from, the root cause. Like you're always saying, like, let's get to the root cause. And maybe that's part of that. Yeah.
It is. Well, I'll tell you, Chris was so good at that event. What I took away from that event, I know I'm getting off the topic again, is, nobody has really talked about dental, and we thought it was going to be pretty boring at a Helping Seniors of Brevard meeting. And what I got was, that was a lot better than I ever expected. So, and Chris was such a great speaker. He has such a good time. So, Great endodontist, Dr. Chris Neglieri, and
yeah, no, it was a really insightful talk, because I mean, he brought up the joke that we always say, you'd almost rather do anything else than have a root canal, and he was explaining it's not like that anymore. But it's great. But actually today our topic is not about roots; it's actually about bite. So we're kind of starting at the top and working our way backwards. But I think the thing that we were trying to hammer on the first part of the show. This is also coming, by the way, from an article that you're publishing in Senior Scene magazine. So it'll be out in the March 2026 edition. You can find your free copy of Senior Scene at 500 locations around the county. So look for Dr. Sheldon's article in the March edition. But we're kind of previewing it today. But I guess the question is, or we started with the premise that your bite could be just as important a contributor to what's going on as cavities or gum disease. And so figuring that out could be right. And if you remember, we left the first part of the show with that cliffhanger, like, do we ask the dentist to figure out if we have a bite problem, or can we figure this out ourselves?
Well, I'll tell you, we are very high tech in this office, but when I check bites, it's about the most low tech thing that I do. I take a very thin piece of cellophane, which is probably, maybe a quarter of an inch wide or about 3 inches long, and I put it in the mouth, and I have the patient bite down on each set of teeth. And then I try to pull the cellophane out. If I can't pull the cellophane out, then I know those teeth are meeting. And if I can pull the cellophane out, then I know the teeth are not meeting. It's the simplest and, for me, the most accurate way of doing it. By the way, I had an $8,000 machine, and that was in the closet. I don't know where it is now that we've moved to the new office. It's probably gone. But the cellophane worked well. And so the answer to the question is, you can check your own bite. You can take some thin cellophane that you get from packaging on a food product that you might buy at the grocery store, and you can cut it into thin strips, and then you can place it between your teeth and bite down and try to pull it out. And if you can't pull it out, you know the teeth are meeting. And if you can pull it out, then you know those teeth are not meeting. And then the question is, should something be done about it or not? And then the dentist can help you. But it's important, because we don't look at the bite nearly as carefully and as often as we do looking at tooth decay and periodontal disease. But because it is that third component, because it is the mechanical stress component that can really make a difference in the ultimate success of all of your restorations, crowns, bridges, implants, whatever that is, it is important. So yeah, you can run that test at home. The thinner the cellophane, the better. Now, if you want to really test it, you can buy this material online. It's called Shimstock, Shimstok. Write that down, Shimstok. It's not in the article. And you can find Shimstock, and you can buy that cellophane, same stuff that I use in the office. You can buy that yourself, and you can test out your own bite with really, 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 really thin cellophane.
You go in the article, which, again, I want to encourage you, as soon as the magazine comes out 1st of March, to grab a copy of Senior Scene and look for it, because you actually go into a little bit like the best practices of how to actually do this. But one point I wanted to ask you is, apparently that you're checking it looks to me like you're checking teeth a pair at a time. It's not like you're sticking like this whole piece of plastic in your mouth and biting down and seeing what happens. It sounds like you want us to go through like a couple of teeth at a time.
Exactly right. I want the upper tooth and the lower tooth. I want you to bite down on those. Well, if you're closed down, if the cellophane only hits those two teeth, then you are testing one set of teeth at a time. By the way, I don't necessarily expect the front four teeth to be touching. I expect all of the other teeth to be touching. Front four teeth. Often there's a little bit of space. Sometimes we even build in a little bit of space, a little bit, not a lot. But it is the back teeth. We want every tooth should be meeting. Now, occasionally you'll find they're not meeting. Then the question is why? And is it causing damage? If you're supposed to have 10 teeth meeting and you only have 9, well, that's not going to be a big problem. If you're supposed to have 10 teeth meeting and you only have 3 teeth meeting, that could be a big problem for your bite and for the 3 teeth that are meeting because they're just taking too much stress.
Right. So let's just say that we take this test at home, and I guess there's probably like they usually do when you do a self-help thing. There's a score chart at the end, and I guess is there like if a certain number of teeth are not meeting, that we should be going, I need to have this checked out a whole lot better, or what? How do you kind of gauge what if you sat down and you did this kind of according to the plan that you write out in the article? Is there like a point where you go like, oh wow, this really should get looked at?
Well, I think when I'm treating a patient and only a few teeth are meeting, the first thing I ask is, well, what's the consequence of that? Which means a dental examination. And am I seeing stress on the teeth, or am I seeing something else, more damage on the teeth? If so, I need to do something about that. If, for example, I saw 3 teeth meeting and the patient says, I'm chewing fine and the teeth aren't loose, I said, good, let's just follow it up. I'm not going to make major corrections for that. So that becomes a judgment call. So the first thing is, you can do the self-diagnosis, if you will, to be able to determine how many teeth are meeting, but then the consequences of that, which we'll often see based on clinical examination, the teeth will be loose, there may be deeper pockets, there may be some damage to the part of the tooth that's under the gum line as a result of your having too much stress. Well, then that requires a more sophisticated dental diagnosis to determine whether something should be done about it or whether you can live with it. There are a number of people that I'll see where they may have 3 teeth touching and I'm seeing some damage and they're grinding the teeth. The simplest answer for them may be to wear a night guard so that when they're grinding their teeth, they're grinding evenly on a piece of plastic. And then during the day, if they're not grinding their teeth, they can live with it. So it is a judgment call as to how far you need to go to correct the problem. And of course, the answer always is do as little as you need to do, not as much as you can do in order to be able to correct any problem.
Yeah. Well, that was actually going to be the next thing I wanted to ask you about is like, let's assume that maybe there is a challenge here. What I was going to say is what are fixes? What are things we can do? Clearly the night guard, I remember Tammy going through that because she apparently had a real problem with my wife grinding her teeth. And then that was one of the solutions that they had recommended years ago was let's have a night guard. So at least when you're asleep, you're going to be kind of protecting the teeth, because isn't that the problem? If we don't do something, we're going to wind up with cracked teeth or breaking some other dental work that's been done in there because it's just not designed to carry that load.
Yeah, potentially that can occur. So what do we do to get teeth to meet? Well, one is go to the orthodontist, get braces done in order to be able to move the teeth so they're meeting properly. The other is if you're getting crowns, make sure the crowns are in contact with the opposing tooth. That's another thing. If you're missing back teeth because nobody sees back teeth, but my front teeth are okay, so I'll just get my back teeth extracted. Well, understand that when you bite down on front teeth, you're biting down on those teeth at an angle. And if there's no back teeth to accept that support, then you're literally making those front teeth loose if you're tapping on those teeth. And so replacing back teeth is extremely important in order to be able to save the front teeth. When we're younger, sometimes, well, I can't afford this, I can't afford that, I can't afford the root canal, I can't afford the implant, whatever it is. But as we get to the point where we're saying, all right, what am I going to do in order to be able to live my life successfully and minimize the chance that I'm wearing dentures? Well, then the bite becomes more and more important. So what you might have decided you couldn't afford when you were 20, maybe you can afford it when you're 50 or 60, and you can get these teeth replaced so that, in fact, you can preserve your front teeth for a lifetime. Whenever we have to extract teeth and put in dentures, well, that's a whole different system. That's like wearing an artificial leg, or it's like wearing a wig in your mouth. It's not exactly the same. Yeah, it can look good and it will look good, but it's not the same as having teeth rooted in bone. A denture is something that floats. It sits on top of the ridge. It's held in on the upper by suction. On the lower, it's held in with your tongue or your lips or with glue or whatever you can do to keep it in. It's not the same thing. And so what we're trying to do is to prevent your needing, going to artificial means in order to be able to support your teeth. So number one, if diagnose it clearly and understand what you're dealing with, and then look at the different options that your dentist says that you have in order to be able to restore your bite properly.
As you were going through that too, I was thinking like that's one of the things that I think I've really learned along the way, because I don't know, and I've repeated this many times as we've done different radio and TVs together. I think as kids we were raised to be concerned with getting a good cavity report, and nobody really talked to us about the importance of gum health and mouth health overall, particularly as we age. And I think that's one of the good things for us to be talking about, is because you really see the value of trying to, quote, save teeth when that's a viable way to look at it, by trying to, like we talked earlier in the show about, if you can get the roots clean, that's going to help. We're talking about getting your bite straightened out. It's going to make sure the pressure loading, or whatever the right term would be, is correct throughout your mouth. All these things are designed to keep what you've got going, I guess is a way to say it.
It's true, and that's coming from an office that does an awful lot of dental implants. And
right.
It is yes, we're really, really good. I mean, you take the doctors who work here, and of course, I don't do anything. I entertain and I come up with diagnosis and treatment plan. but the guys who work here, whether it's my son or it's Dr. Furtado or Dr. Coelho, I mean, these people really know what they're doing. But you want to hire us to do that when you really need to do that. You don't need to do it all the time. As long as you're paying attention to the details, then maybe you can minimize the amount of dental work that you need. I mean, if you need major dental work, that's great. By the way, if you need minor dental work, they know what they're doing. It's a judgment call as to how much you need in order to be able to get there. And that's why I'm so proud to still be associated with this practice.
Yeah, and that practice is seems to be growing by leaps and bounds, because you guys have that beautiful new state-of-the-art facility right there on O'Galley Boulevard. I know for years people have been used to where your office has always been kind of like a landmark, but this place is fantastic because you've got it's just huge. That's the only word I can use, and everything in there is like state-of-the-art, and then you've got now. You've got Dr. Michelle Furtado, who, like yourself, is periodontist, but then your son, Dr. Matt, is general dentistry, and Dr. Coelho, am I saying that right? And
yes.
So you've really got a huge team and a wonderful staff that backs everything up, and so you're really not just able to handle periodontist issues. You're able to manage general dentistry and get people pointed in the right direction on cosmetic dentistry and all sorts of things.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, we still use specialists for specialty work, and we'll continue to do that. But I mean, most of the work that you need to have done can be done right here. And all of the plans that we're doing are originated here. So that when I see a patient for evaluation, I cover all the steps, including what you may need with outside sources if we decide we need to do them, so that you have a complete picture as to what you're going to need over the next year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever that is. So you can make logical decisions for yourself. The last thing you want to do is start something that you can't afford to finish. And so if we can't, let's get that out right now so that you're not surprised later on. And I'm talking about all four of us, can come up with a pretty good long-term plan. You talk about Joe Steckler, and we've adopted that statement, getting your ducks in a row. We are here to get your ducks in a row so you make logical decisions for yourself. As I've said many times in this show, the most expensive dentistry is the dentistry that you have to redo. And our goal is to make sure you're doing it, and you're doing it only once.
That is such a great segue point into kind of like the mission of what we try to do as a nonprofit. Anyway, we are always on the wall and ready to take, whatever kind of a call. Mom can't come home safe from the hospital, and we get all those calls all the time. And last year, over 4,500 and I think it was 45 calls, something like that, that our Senior Information Helpline managed at 321-473-7770. Not only that, but then a huge number, well over 4,000 email inquiries, people who go to our website, they hit the contact form, or they send us a message on Facebook or however. So there's a lot of information going through. But what we really like is when we can get out ahead of the problem and help people think about things that they could potentially run into, which is why our founder, Joe Steckler, was always talking about that aging plan and just trying to make a plan. Like, we understand hurricane plan. So we say, why not get your ducks in a row about the things that you need to think about? Like, if we could solve some of these problems, today our focus is on mouth health and things like that. But I mean, if you can take a little bit of a proactive stance, it's going to save you money. It's also going to save you pain, and it's also going to save you stress, which is why I'm such a fan of the program that we talked about earlier, the Solid Bite Gives Back, because to me, it's win-win-win. It helps us as a charity keep funding going so that we can keep our work going. But you as a medical professional get all the tools that you need to really help somebody chart the right course. But then as the person, you're getting a great value and getting a ton of information that's going to help you with that on that Solid Bite Gives Back. And you've helped not only our charity, but I mean, you've helped I think half a dozen different charities, raised a lot of money in this community to help people, but also helping the charities, but also helping the people that are coming in.
Yeah, I think we're close to $300,000 now in charitable donations. And for me, it was very simple. I need all the information. And I'm not going to say, well, you need this x-ray, it's going to cost this much, and you're going to need this x-ray, and it's going to cost this much. Come on in, $50 to Helping Seniors of Brevard. I get all the things that I need in order to be able to come up with the diagnostic tools and to be able to give the prediction that we're talking about. And you are donating to Helping Seniors of Brevard, and Helping Seniors of Brevard benefits, and so does every senior in Brevard County who needs it benefits, because the services, as Kerry will tell you in a moment, and he's been telling you for many years now, these are vital to many seniors in the county who need it. And we've got resources right here at Helping Seniors of Brevard that can help you. And not only that, the resources that we have at Helping Seniors of Brevard are vetted by Helping Seniors of Brevard, so that you know that you're going to somebody who's thorough and is honest and is going to give you a get your ducks in a row plan for whatever it is that you need. And so by calling Nancy Deerdorf and talking with her, she's going to be able to give you those advantages. But yeah, for our program, Solid Bite Gives Back, it's you call the office, 321-259-8000. You tell them you heard me on radio or Helping Seniors of Brevard, or say anything like that, and they'll know exactly what to do in order to be able to arrange for you to come in for the full 2-hour examination, x-ray, CT scan, full evaluation for $50 or more to Helping Seniors of Brevard.
Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you, Dr. Lee Sheldon. And we appreciate you joining us on this topic. Look for Dr. Sheldon's article, Why Your Bite May Matter More Than Cavities or Gum Disease. It's going to be in the March edition of the Senior Scene magazine. You can always look for Helping Seniors. We publish right there in the center section. We call it the Yellow Pages, and we put all kinds of information in there that we're always trying to help you, as we talked about, get your ducks in a row. So I kind of want to use like the last minute and a half here to kind of share a couple of dates that I want to be sure you get on your calendar. We talked about these earlier. One was the fact that that literally tomorrow is Nourish Your Spirit cooking class. That's always a fun event right there at our offices, the Senior Resource Center, 1344 South Apollo Boulevard, second floor in Melbourne. Ellen Jones with Senior Helpers of Melbourne, and Chef Jillian Zabris, who is I call her the master chefs for seniors. She's going to be doing heart-healthy recipes tomorrow. It's free to attend. You got RSVP so she knows how many places to set, because we not only learn how to do these menus for ourselves, we watch her prepare them, and then we get to taste them, which is really the fun part of this. So it's tomorrow, 11 to 12:30. Please give us a call, 321-473-7770, and we'll get you connected for that. Don't forget, every second Friday is Walk with the Doc. So we'll be back with our friends from AARP at Merritt Square Mall, 9 to 10 a.m. right there in Merritt Island. Be sure to join ARNP Lydia Rivera and your Helping Seniors friends there. It's always a great group. I also want to remind you, it's not too late to get involved in Scam Jam, which is also happening on this Friday. So you need to call and see if you can get a RSVP for that. We're going to be in Palm Bay this time with our talk. at Glenbrook of Palm Bay. So again, the number you want to call, 321-473-7770. That is the time we have for Helping Seniors Radio today. See you right back here next Wednesday, 12 noon. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week. Until then.